Faithful spar usually.
So the night before it premiered, there was I was in a meeting with Haim Saban regarding something else. Zordon's calling. Regarding something else, and he actually leaned back and told me, says, Tony, you know, if we pull this off, this is going to be the frickin' miracle of the century. That's the only time in my entire 11-year relationship with Haim Saban that I ever saw him scared and nervous, because everyone's job was on the line. The Saban Entertainment, Saban had never been in the black. They went, you know, like $15 million into this project and didn't know they were going to make any money. Bandai had spent a fortune retooling for toys just in case it went. Fox, the president of Fox at the time, Margaret Lesh, was told by Rupert Murdoch that she was crazy to buy this show, and if it didn't go, it was her job. There was a lot on the line here. And when it premiered the next day, and 5 days later when we got the ratings, suddenly we had this #1 show on our hands. I mean, it went like that, and within 2 months it was a phenomenon. It took us totally by surprise. We had expected that maybe we could get a couple years at #2, you know, maybe get 2-3 years out of the show, and it became the most watched television show in the history of children's television, and the most successful financially. The franchise has made over $10 billion right now, and it's gone through 2 different hands. Yeah, it continues to evolve, and each generation brings something else to it, which I think was really nice. So I actually have a report here that kind of talks about that. I hope I have the right one up here. Because what happened was we went to Universal Studios, and some interesting things happened.
The fresh young faces on the network primetime schedule.
This isn't it. Sorry, that's not it.
TV.
Sorry. I may have these just in pieces. I'm sorry if I do.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. When we come back, Los Angeles turns out in force for the debut of the Power Rangers. As you might expect, the face-off between Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan in Norway Wednesday night is a sellout, with tickets being scalped at $1,000 and up. Could anything compete with that? Now, maybe the Power Rangers. Think I'm kidding? Listen to what NBC's George Lewis found in Southern California today.
It was a monumental traffic jam as 35,000 young fans showed up to view America's top superheroes.
Let's hear it for the mighty Morphin Power Rangers!
Some of the kids arrived at 4 a.m. to make sure they had good seats.
They're cool. Who's the coolest? Who's your favorite? Billy. Why? Because he's smart, but he's a nerd. Yeah. He's cute.
If you don't have a kid at home, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is a show on the Fox network that has become must-viewing for the younger set. At Christmas time, the Power Ranger dolls became a runaway bestseller. The factory was back-ordered for months. Even the creators of the characters are surprised at the success of the show and all the merchandise that goes with it. More phenomenal has become a household word. The characters have become ambassadors for the anti-drug DARE program. They're using their appeal to teach children to say no to drugs.
I think it's really important for kids to really see our faces and to understand that it's us and our characters that are really helping to portray positive role models for children.
We are the future generation of tomorrow. So if we can give out any positive message, and if one kid just listen to what we're saying, then we have done part of our job.
Done their job, made a ton of money for the producers, and today created a traffic jam in LA that stretched 5 miles long. They're planning other public appearances. America, watch out. George Lewis, NBC News, Los Angeles.
So they literally had to close down the Hollywood freeway, 2 exits of the Hollywood freeway, because 50,000 people showed up. They had to turn away 20. The Universal Studios sold out tickets by 9:30 in the morning. They sold out the park. They'd never had an event like that before or since. There was a 4-hour late. We ended up doing 6 shows. I actually wrote that show and was there to direct it. It was like the Beatles. There was girls standing up going, Tommy! It was really surreal. And then later on in the year, I'm starting to run out of time, so I'm going to get to questions here. But when I went to Australia a few months later, we went to Australia to start shooting the movie, and there were kids in Power Ranger costume. It was kind of odd. This is a personal story. When I arrived in Australia, I was really excited because 20th Century Fox was doing the movie. These are the guys that did Star Wars. I'm going to go learn something. I was just there to deal with some issues on the TV show. It had nothing to do with the movie. And I get into my hotel room about 6:30 in the morning, and I turn on the TV, and there's Power Rangers playing. It's like, well, good. This is what a cool moment. And those of you who know my career, the very next show that played was Robotech. So the two biggest shows I've ever had in my life were playing back to back in Sydney, Australia.
I'm in
This
panel
is so freaking weird.
C, like on the 6th floor.
So it became a big hit, and went on and continues on. I thought Disney did a really good job of trying to bring back the franchise when they took it over. They brought a little bit of whimsy back. They were nice enough to have me go out to New Zealand for about 3 weeks to help them show them how to make the show.
Dude, I can't really. I'm recording.
And now it's continued to evolve. Now we did go into the Saban's Menudo thing, where it just kind of went. They started changing
in the front
cast,
row.
and this is a question that comes up almost every time, so I'm going to answer it right now. What happened is that when Tommy joined the show, because he came by the surprise, by the way, we'd only looked. I personally, because I was in charge of story that season, I really only looked at the first 13 episodes, and we got those going. And after those were going, I got the writers working on that. I started looking at the footage for the next one, and suddenly this Green Ranger shows up. So we had to go up to the boss. We got a problem, and so we had to quickly cast. Fortunately, we found Jason Franks, and but the minute we joined, the ratings went up and the toy sales went up. The minute, a year later, when they had a little contract, the contracts were up. They couldn't come to an agreement. The three Rangers left when Walter and Austin and Twee left the show, and they replaced them with Johnny Bosch and Karen Ashley and Tony Cardenas, or David Cardenas. Mr. Cardenas. Let's put it that way. The ratings went up and the toy sales went up. And then when Kimberly left and Catherine showed up, the toy sales went up and the ratings went up. So there was some loyalty to the original cast. They could stay as long as they wanted to work under the contracts that we had. But once they were replaced, the decision was made to change, just like the Japanese do, change the cast every year. And when it happens is you get a whole new cast and a whole new toy thing, and that's why they did it. It's a financial thing. It's worked for Japan for 35 years, and so why break it? I want to be able to take some questions, so I'm going to stop showing. I have lots of videos, and they're organized in a weird way today. So let me answer any questions you can. I'll start with you.
So I was looking at you showed the first version of the pilot, and they had the bully that was kind of the guy bully that was kind of just in blue and looked like Tommy. Was that Tommy as the bully?
The bully? No. Actually, there was another actor. Tommy, we didn't find him yet. There was a decision made after the pilot that the guy that was playing in the original, Skull was the leader, and Bulk was the henchman. But the decision was made that first of all, Paul Schreier was a much better actor than that guy, considerably better. Another personal story, we're in line to get breakfast at the bowling alley that morning, and I'm talking to Paul, and we're meeting, hi, I'm the producer, and I'm the writer, and he asked me what I did, and I said, well, I was a voice actor, and I did shows like Robotech, and he goes, Robotech, and he totally geeked out. He was a total Robotech fan. But the decision was made that he wasn't it wasn't working, plus he was too mean, he was a little too dangerous, So the guy who was playing Skull was a stuntman. So they decided, and we let Paulie actually cast his partner. They just brought people in and go play with them for a while, and Paul was the one that said, this is the guy I want, Jason Narvey, and that's how Jason Narvey ended up on the show. And they're still very close and good friends. So, yes.
If I may make a comment.
Really fast one, because we're running out of time.
I saw a YouTube video that was the casting of Samurai, and Paul Schreier has been brought back.
Yes.
But Jason Narvey
was not
because he is actually in Iraq serving our country.
That's not true. That's absolutely not true.
That's what Paul said.
I know Paul plays games. At the time that Paul was in New Zealand shooting the current Samurai Rangers, I was doing a play in Hollywood with Jason Narvey.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for clearing that up.
Shut down.
Yeah. It was cool. I played God and he played Adam. It was a
okay. My bad. Okay, don't believe it that you see on YouTube. Okay. By the way, you can also see the entire pilot on YouTube as well.
Yeah, the pilot was actually eventually aired as the Power Rangers: The Lost episode, and I actually directed that when we We
Jason
brought in
and Zach
Jason and Zach
hosted.
to host it and stuff like that. No, Jason Narby, the reason, I was actually around when they did it. Paul, they wanted Jason, there was an assumption made that Jason wasn't available because he was in the middle of getting his PhD. By the way, he's now Dr. Narby.
Oh my God.
He's got a PhD in theater history, I think. And there was an assumption that he wasn't available because he was still in the middle of the PhD thing. So that's why. One of the things that I was hired to do on Power Ranger Samurai, was to write Bulk's lines.
Okay, I'll be sure to tell my club that.
Yeah. I don't know if they used any of it because they replaced the writers about halfway through. So, way in the back.
What made you decide to enter cooking school comedic character?
Well, it needed some comedy. You know, look, at the time, you have to understand, at the time the show was up, what you had was a lot of dark heroes. The X-Men was the big show at the time. The original X-Men series was the big show at the time. So you have that and Little Clowns of Happy Town. You know, those were the two kind of Pablum and Smurfy stuff and that stuff. So we decided we wanted to do something with some squeaky clean characters that were cool, but we needed some comic relief to balance out the danger of Rita and all of that stuff because we wanted to be appropriate for little kids. And laughing is fun, you know, so we just thought it would be fun. And Paulie is so good. They were only supposed to be a small part of the show, but they really kind of grew into something. And the last 5 minutes here, I'm going to show you something that'll explain why. Yes, Dr. Who?
Have you seen the history of Power Rangers done on that guy with the glasses?
Linkara.
Yes.
Yeah, actually,
Yes,
I have. It's actually very good. There's some great stuff that he does on
He
that.
just recently, if anybody is watching that series, he just recently did Ninja Storm. He
That
just
came out like a month ago.
month ago, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
he
familiar.
just did it.
I've actually talked to the guy because he was a little afraid of. Are you okay? No, it's
Dude, I
cool.
love
It's
how
cool.
he calls Andros legless. I love that.
Yes.
What did you think when you first saw Johnny Young Bosch and Robert Axelrod in their roles?
Well, Robert Axelrod is a voice actor.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually cast Robert. So I loved him. I thought he did a great job, and he's wonderful. Johnny Bosch was interesting because I was at his audition. It's his final audition, and I thought we were taking a chance because he was so. Literally, he's from a little tiny town, like a suburb of a little tiny town in Texas, you know. And he'd never been to the big city, and he was a little intimidated and scared. But he had this honesty and this look. Plus, he did his. Everybody had to be either a dancer, a gymnast, or a martial artist to be in the show. And he did this kung fu kata that just blew us away. This kung fu kata that just blew us away, and that's really what landed it for him. I thought it was great, and we were in a lot of turmoil. We had to shut down production for 2 weeks to replace the Rangers that left. So, you know, it was like great to find 3 people. And interesting, we did casting all over the country. We went to Dallas, New York, Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles. All 3 came out of Dallas auditions. All 3 replacement cast members. So, and Johnny ended up with my favorite line in the movie. I'm a frog? Yes.